Come on, record. All right, that little ding means we are recording. So welcome to our Wednesday virtual trainings. Today is on Go Formative. This program I used quite a bit of when I was in the classroom, mostly because it does a lot of stuff for you. It takes a lot of the guesswork out. We'll talk about some of the biggest drawbacks I found, but today we're going to talk about Google Classroom integration, how it's pretty simple, making a PDF into a graded assignment. So a lot of you may have PDFs that you already use in class. This is the first easy step to making graded assignments. Creating an assignment from scratch, how you'd go about doing that process, how you can track student progress, which I'll kind of buzz over because I went through that before, but unless you have a lot of data gathered, it's not going to make a lot of sense. And how you can actually search the library of resources that they already have for you available. So let's go ahead and get right into Go Formative. So this is just goformative.com. We do have a premium subscription to this. So all you have to do is go to the login, and you're going to want to log in with your Google. And because you are logging in with a herkimercsd.org, you will have the premium account to this. If you do not, when you sign in, let us know. We just have to add you to a database, and we'll get it real quick. If you don't have the premium, somewhere up in this top bar, it'll say try premium. If you see that, let us know. We'll get you into the stuff. As you can see here, I have a bunch of stuff already created, but we're just going to go straight from, let's say we're brand new, we want to create a new formative. This is how you're going to integrate all that stuff right there. Classes, I just hit the back button here. If I go to classes to integrate from Google Classroom, I go up to this button, Google Classroom Sync. I'm going to click on that. It's going to ask me to sign in. It may ask for permissions. If it's the first time like this, I'm just going to hit allow. And I'm going to choose which classes I want to import my students from. If I want to exclude any students, I can click them out here. So I have never done that. I've never excluded anybody. So I just click on which classes I want to add. I hit import, and it's going to grab all your kids and pull them straight in. The negative side, or one of the small negative sides of this, is that it does not back sync grades. So if you grade in Go Formative, you would have to manually enter in Google Classroom. So if you keep a grade book in Google Classroom, you'd want to do that. Just so you know, coming down the pipeline, we're going to try out something that syncs Google Classroom grades to School Tool. We're testing that out, seeing how that goes, and so that may be something to keep an eye on in the future. So here we go. I've got all the kids here. I can take a look at my students. If I have to add a student later on, this little plus button, I can give a student this code, and it will add them into Google Go Formative right away. So there's simple. I've got all my Google Classroom classes into Go Formative. I can also start classes from here. If I want to start a new class, I can do that. All right, so here I am. I want to make a new formative. First thing I want to do is edit, and let's just say I'm doing something with earth science, because that's what I used to do a lot of. And I know that I want to add in a bunch of stuff. Now, if I hit the plus button, I can add in audio content, embed videos, images, text blocks, whiteboards, audio responses, categories, all these stuff. So here's your content. The red is content. The blue is the question types. But I have been a classroom teacher for so long that I know I have a bunch of PDFs. So we're going to start with showing you how to take a PDF that you already have, and we're going to turn it into an assignment. I have the choice of taking something from my computer or from my Google Drive. So if I click on my Google Drive, it'll, first time through, you probably have to sign in again, and it'll ask you for an allowance. It didn't this time. So if I go previous selected, that's anything I've already done. It will specifically look for images. It'll look for documents. It'll look for drawings, so on and so forth. If I want to look through for whatever PDFs, presentations, drawings, I can simply do that. I can also do it from my desktop. Let's see. We had a thing called Earth Science, I believe, that I was going to do. And where'd it go? It was an image. The one drawback here is that it doesn't look direct. It doesn't look quite like your Google Drive does. So, for example, I have already set up in my Google Drive a folder for the Go Formative today, and um, so it doesn't. It's not going to look just like like your just like your classroom. Your Drive is set up. So, did I hit the right one? Let me just find my resource that I had set up. Images, documents. Oh, PDFs. Here we go. It's PDF. There it is. All right, Earth Science. So we select this, we pull it in, and it's going to process. Now you have, on the trial version, you can only do up to about 5 pages of PDF. On this version, it pretty much pulls everything in. So here we go. We've pulled it in. Now, if you see over here, it says click on the image to add questions. It's simply, I'm just going to click in here, and this is a multiple choice question. And since I put the dot right on a question, I'm not going to bother typing a question because we already have it. We've got during which season the northern hemisphere during which season is the northern hemisphere at aphelion? That is when it's furthest away. This question always used to screw the kids up. So I'm going to click over here to give it the right answer. I'm not going to randomize the order because that would not match with my page. That's not a show your work question. If you want to tag standards, you can do that. But that's it, just done. I can go through and make all these questions that are already done a multiple choice question. Click in the answer, and that'll give the kids this sheet. They can pop in the questions, and when it's all done, it'll tell you what they got for a score. Now over here, I've got some questions, but these are not multiple choice questions. These are fill in the blanks. So identify the name of the depositional feature labeled at C. So I can come over here and make this a question, make it a short answer question, and I can add in correct answers. So we're looking at depositional feature at C as a delta. You can actually allow partial matching. You can make it case sensitive, which it's not. So that's why I really didn't need that second delta. But you can put in that answer. It's good for some questions. Sometimes it can pick up the longer your words, obviously, the less the match. You can also over here change the points. And when you go through and grade, you can actually slide to give partial credit if you have a partial credit question, excuse me. Now, question 70 is a different one. It says, in the box in your answer booklet, draw a cross-sectional view of the general shape of the stream at the bottom to point X to Y. So what I would want them to do is I would want them to actually draw something. So what I need to do is I need to give them a show your work question, and I need to edit the background. And to edit the background, I'm going to want to insert a picture from my Google Drive that I already took from the answer key. And that makes it a background image that they are going to then draw over top of. And I took a screenshot earlier today, which I did not name because I am silly. And you can see all this wonderful stuff that I have in my files of all sorts of things that I've been working on. But basically what happens is if I wanted to do a background image of something that I took from earlier, this becomes their background image. They would have to draw on top of this, and they have no option to do that. Or if I wanted to come in and actually draw something for them to draw on, I could do that. So if I wanted to have an X to Y, little box where they're going to go into, they don't have the option of changing this background image. They would have to draw on what I gave them. So if you're something like a graph, or a lot of times I would use this for topographic maps or contour lines or isobars or isotherms, something along those lines there. So that's really how you can easily take a PDF that you already have and turn it into a already graded assignment. If I go to assign, once I'm done with that, I can pick which classes to assign it to. There are also settings. You can restrict to individual students. You can choose open and close times. You can do a time limit, which is actually new. You can do an after submission. They can keep it visible. You can allow edits, make it hidden. No edits allowed, so they can see what they did but not edit. You can allow edits. It depends on how you want to do that. You can choose to return scores after they submit it right away. Don't show them the scores. Or if you chose an open close time, you can return the scores after it's closed. Same thing with the returning the correct answers. You can see it immediately after they submit it. You don't want them to see the correct answers, or you can see it only after it's closed. So if I'm doing an exam or if I'm doing a homework assignment that I don't want them to share the correct answers on, I can choose a close time and let them only see their scores and their right answers after the time is over. Display in the random order. I'm not going to do that if it's a PDF because that you don't reorder the PDF. This is only if you assign it from something you've created from response. When I'm all done, I can assign it and post to Google Classroom. So it'll create a Google Classroom post for you, or I can assign only. If I assign to Google Classroom, when I click on this, it will post up. You would have to edit some of the stuff as far as what topic it might be in or graded, stuff like that. And it also gives you some other options. You can get a link, you can get the embedded link, uh, stuff like that. Then you get to the view responses. So now here I have all my students. I can view their answers in either points or percentage. You can see totals, in other words, how they've done throughout the entire exam, or I can see how they did on each individual question, and I can see exactly what they answered for each question. So for example, question number 4, which is my drawing question, this live updates what they're drawing, so you can actually kind of walk around and see what they're drawing, how they're doing it. If you wanted to put this up on the board for the kids to see how everybody's answering a question, you can hide names, so you just see responses. That way the kids can see how everybody's answering. You can pick one out and be like, look at what this person is doing, see how they're drawing it. They got the right idea. This person is really close, but not quite. And what I like is keeping this up on the board with totals so I can see where they are at, where they're answering, or if I'm just at my desktop or if I'm walking around with an iPad or something, I can see exactly who's on what question, how they're doing it. This will be a green bar if they've got it right. It'll be a red bar if they've got the question wrong. So it's a really powerful tool for you to get some instant feedback and walk up to that kid that might be having trouble and help them out right away. And that is also helpful for the tracker. So throughout the year, as things go on, you can track and see how the student progress is going. They're really strong in Unit 2. They're really weak in Unit 3. I found the tracker data really helpful when it came towards time for Regents review, because then I knew exactly which students were weak in what subjects, and it allowed me to tell, hey, Susie and Georgie, why don't you guys work together on creating a study guide for Unit 3? Because it seems like you were pretty weak in that, and that really helped my Regents grades that year. If I wanted to go to create a formative from scratch, I then go to my formatives. Let me go back a step so you can see what I just did. I'm back to my formatives tab. I click on create a new formative. And now instead of downloading or enhancing a PDF or document, I'm just going to start out right here from this stuff. Let's say I wanted to take an image of my drones that I had popped up previously. I want my students to label the parts of a drone. And I pull in this, and now I've got my photo. That's going to be the reference photo. I can add audio content, and I want to record an audio content. Allow. Tell me what the difference between counterclockwise and clockwise rotating propellers do on a drone. Okay, they're there. So now we got that. They can hear that. And then we can plot in our short response, short answer. I can also put in the verbs. What do counterclockwise and clockwise propellers do on a drone. And then they can have them put in their work, so on and so forth. There's a whiteboard option, which allows them to draw some stuff or for you to draw in. So if you were doing maybe a math equation that you wanted to draw in, you could do that. Then when it comes to questions, there's all sorts of different answers types. Audio response, they can tell you their response. They can categorize things. Categorize this item to this category label. Key items draggable this. You can make it draggable items. A lot of fun when you start playing around with it. You can see the power that you can do with that. There's essay questions, graphing questions. Your students will type equations on a piece of graph paper. I've never really had to play around with that, but I'm not even going to pretend to make something up there. That would be something I'd really be interested in playing with some of the math teachers if they want to play with that. Matching, multiple choice we showed you. Multiple selection, that would be if there's more than one correct answer. Numeric, if you are typing in some sort of math equation, there's the option for that. Resequence, put things in the right order. Short answer, show your work, really can be great for drawing stuff on top. And then, of course, true or false, which is if a question is true or false. That's really building an assignment yourself. That has great power because you can then randomize the questions to kids. So if you wanted to send out a homework, the kids don't know that it's randomized. They just know that these are the questions. So what'd you get for number 2? Oh, I got B. Well, it might not be B for you. So if you build your own assignments, you get to then randomize the questions, and it makes it a lot harder for them to realize that, wait a minute, my questions don't match your questions. You can also differentiate where you can send certain question sets to certain kids based on their skill level. Lastly, one thing I want to do is searching the library of resources. There is a library up here, and there are formatives that you can choose from that have already been built. So for example, here we have Algebra 1 bundle, the entire course, chapters 1 through 8. If you click on it, these star ratings are rated by other teachers that use Go Formative. As you can see, this has got 3 out of 5 stars. Maybe it's a good one, maybe it's not. But you can see this person has built all these chapters, Algebra 1-6, independent practice, multiplying, dividing real numbers. So if I click on this, over here in this little section, we can see what the questions are and whether we like them or not. Find the product of 5/8 times -2/8. Simplify if necessary. It's a multiple choice question. So those are those classes there. We can search formatives. If we go back to the library, I can search titles, authors, and descriptors. So let's say I want to do ELA. Let's see if there's any ELA stuff out there. So what makes you say that? Kindergarten, main ideas and supporting ideas, 4th grade. Practice analyzing ads for theme, tone, mood, and purpose. 10th, 11th, and 8th grade plus 2 more. We click on that. It's got 7 ratings, average rating of 3. So we have, here's an example of a video form. What is each ad trying to make us believe, think, feel about this product? Themes, tones, moods. They've got ads. What's the theme? What's the tone? What's the mood? So this is what that teacher did with that. Let's look for science. There's a water cycle one. If we look for history, or I probably should have done global studies, U.S. midterm elections contest. So this was a teacher that took a bunch of stuff and said, what were the 2 presidents in recent history to buck that trend, talking about just certain things. To watch a video and answer these questions for this. What were their approval ratings? This I got to be careful is this outline content above was added from outside Go Formative. Basically, what they're trying to tell you is that if it's added from outside of Go Formative, please review it because they don't know what the content is specifically, and it may or may not be appropriate for school children. They do have some questions that you can add from the formative bank. So that is how you can use a library to steal a formative, rather reallocate a Go Formative for yourself and pick and choose what you like. you can build a question. You can build questions based on that. So that's the quick and dirty half-hour version of Go Formative. I just wanted to really kind of give you a shot at looking at that. It's great because once you start building these things and once you start using them, you can reuse the next year. Answers are already put in. You take 15 minutes, 20 minutes to make something, especially if you have a PDF already created. You take 15 minutes to turn it into answering questions. The grading is dropped. You can take that time, make another formative, and you can see how the time can kind of go from there. If you use I got a question. If you use Go Formative from the library, can you edit it? So some are editable. Most, I was gonna say, most are editable. So let's take this Go Formative. I'm gonna add it. So we now have my new bundle. So I'm gonna view my bundle. And what do we got? Reflexive routines 1. All right, so here it is. Here's my audio responses. I have full editing ability. You know, I don't want this question here. I don't want question 7 here. I can delete it. So I scroll down and say, you know what? Question number 7, don't want you. See ya. Remove from that formative. So now it is completely editable if I take from the library. So yes, if you use Go Formative from the library, you can completely re-edit it. Any other questions anyone wants to type in or anyone want to jump in with anything? This is something we do pay for as a district. So I would suggest checking it out, get in as soon as possible so we can make sure that everybody has a premium account so we can get you playing around with it, get you getting some of your PDFs into this or playing around with some of the, as Tom had mentioned, he'd like to play around with the equation editor, see what you think about that. I would love the feedback on that because as a science teacher, I didn't really need a lot of those. And if you want to dig deep farther with me, sign up for one of my sessions in the email, and I'll gladly drop down and help you build some Go Formatives. Any other questions somebody wants to grab from me? Grab before I let you all go? All right, perfect. Well, like I said, don't want to waste anybody's time. So thanks for tuning in for that quick little virtual presentation, virtual training. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow.